"Hello, ma'am, please. Your son needs help." The voice trembled through the phone, small, breathless, fighting against the scream of sirens somewhere in the background. Victoria Chen stared at her screen. Unknown caller. Her thumb hovered over the red button. She had 17 board members waiting, a merger collapsing in real time, and absolutely no patience for. "He's bleeding. I think his head hit the concrete." Victoria's world stopped, not slowed, stopped. The leather chair groaned as she stood, her Louboutins clicking sharply against marble. Every face in the boardroom turned toward her, but she didn't see them. She saw only one thing. Her son's face the last time they'd fought, 3 days ago, when he'd screamed that she cared more about her empire than she ever did about him. "Where is he?" Her voice cut through the room like steel. The girl's words came in jagged pieces. "South Bronx, near the courts on Willis Avenue. There's so much blood, ma'am. I called 911, but I thought you should know. His phone was locked, but there's a picture of you two on the case, so I—" Victoria was already moving. Her assistant scrambled after her, tablet in hand, questions forming, but Victoria silenced her with a look. Within 8 minutes, her private helicopter lifted from the rooftop of Chen Industries Tower, carving through the Manhattan skyline like a blade through silk. She didn't pray. Victoria Chen hadn't prayed in 15 years, not since the day she buried her mother with empty pockets and a heart full of rage. But now, 37 floors above the city, her lips moved soundlessly. "Please, not him, not my son." When the helicopter touched down near the park, Victoria ran. She hadn't run since college. Not in heels, not in a Valentino suit that cost more than most people's cars. But she ran now, her breath tearing through her chest. Designer sunglasses abandoned on the seat behind her. The crowd parted like water. Paramedics knelt beside a stretcher. And there was her son, 16-year-old Marcus, his brown skin ashen, his Morehouse prep hoodie soaked dark with blood, one eye swollen shut, lips cracked and still. "Marcus!" The name ripped from her throat. She dropped to her knees beside him, and for the first time in a decade, Victoria Chen, the woman who'd clawed her way from food stamps to Forbes, who'd stared down Wall Street predators without flinching, felt utterly, devastatingly helpless. "Ma'am, we need to move him now," a paramedic said gently. Victoria nodded, numb. Then she turned. Standing 5 feet away, nearly invisible against a rusted fence, was a little black girl, maybe 7 years old. Her jacket was too thin for November, her sneakers held together with duct tape, and her eyes. Those eyes held something Victoria hadn't seen in years. Pure, unfiltered humanity. The girl clutched a cracked phone in both hands like it was made of gold. "You came," the child whispered. "I wasn't sure you would." Victoria's throat closed. The words hit harder than any hostile takeover, any bankruptcy threat, any boardroom betrayal she'd ever faced. This child, this stranger, had doubted whether a mother would come for her own son. And God help her, the doubt wasn't unfounded. "What's your name?" Victoria asked, her voice softer than she'd heard it in years. "Keisha." The girl shifted her weight, wincing slightly. Victoria noticed then, the way she favored her left leg, the purple bruise peeking from beneath her sleeve, the hollowness in her cheeks that spoke of missed meals. "Keisha, did you see what happened?" The girl nodded, tears suddenly spilling over. "Big boys, 4 of them. They wanted his phone and his chain. When he said no, She swallowed hard. "They pushed him. He fell so hard, ma'am. His head made a sound I can't stop hearing it." Victoria's hands curled into fists. Rage and grief warred inside her chest, but she forced herself to breathe. Focus. Marcus needs you focused. Why didn't you run? Victoria asked. When they left, why did you stay? Keisha looked at her like the question was absurd. He was scared. I could tell even though his eyes were closed. Nobody should be scared alone. Something cracked inside Victoria's carefully constructed armor. The paramedics were loading Marcus into the ambulance. She needed to go, now, but her feet wouldn't move. She stared at this little girl who'd done what most adults wouldn't. Stopped, cared, stayed. "Ma'am, we're leaving," the paramedic called. Victoria made a decision that would change everything. "Keisha, where's your family?" The girl's eyes dropped. "Grandma's at work. She cleans offices overnight. Won't be home till morning." "And you're out here alone at night?" Keisha shrugged, a gesture far too weary for someone so young. "I can take care of myself." No child should have to say that. Victoria pulled out her phone, fingers flying across the screen. Her assistant answered on the first ring. "Cancel everything for the next 48 hours. Contact Marcus's father. Tell him to meet me at Mount Sinai. And send a car to..." She looked at Keisha. "What's the address here?" 146th and Willis, but ma'am, I don't need... "The car will wait with you until your grandmother gets home." Victoria's tone left no room for argument. "I need to go with my son, but I'm not leaving you here alone. Not after what you did." She climbed into the ambulance, then paused at the door. "Keisha, thank you. You saved his life." The girl's face transformed, not with pride, but with something deeper, relief, as if she'd been waiting her whole short life for someone to see her. As the ambulance doors closed and sirens wailed back to life, Victoria didn't know that this moment, this child, would unravel everything she thought she knew about power, about worth, about what it meant to truly matter in someone's world. The hospital lights turned Victoria's reflection into a ghost. She barely recognized the woman staring back from the ICU window. Mascara streaked, suit jacket abandoned somewhere between the helicopter and the ER, her carefully constructed armor shattered. Marcus was stable, concussion, fractured cheekbone, 32 stitches, but stable. She should have felt relief. Instead, she felt only the weight of her son's last conscious words echoing in her memory. "You're never here when it matters." He'd been right. "Mrs. Chen?" A nurse approached with a clipboard. "There's a situation. A little girl in the waiting room insists she needs to see you. Security tried to send her home, but she won't leave until..." Victoria was already moving. Keisha sat alone on a plastic chair, legs swinging high above the floor, her too thin jacket wrapped tight despite the hospital's stifling heat. When she saw Victoria, relief flooded her face, then immediately hardened into something defensive. "The carman said I had to get out because it was past midnight and I couldn't stay in the parking lot alone, so I came inside, but I can go back now if..." "Stop." Victoria knelt in front of her. "You're not in trouble, but your grandmother. She knows I'm here. I called from the payphone." Keisha held up a crumpled dollar bill. "Cost 50 cents. She spent half her money to check on a stranger." "How is he?" Keisha asked, her voice tiny. "Your son. He's going to be okay, thanks to you." Victoria studied the bruise on the girl's arm, darker now under fluorescent lights. "Keisha, how did you get that?" The shutters slammed down behind the child's eyes. "Fell." "And the one on your leg?" "I'm clumsy." Victoria knew that dance. She'd performed it herself once, decades ago, before she'd escaped her stepfather's fists and built walls high enough that no one could hurt her again. "Who hurt you?" "Nobody." But Keisha's voice cracked. "Can I see him? Just for a second?" I need to know he's really okay. Every hospital protocol said no. Every security measure Victoria had spent years perfecting screamed danger, stranger, liability. But she thought of Keisha's voice on that phone. He was scared. Nobody should be scared alone. Come with me. They walked through corridors that smelled of disinfectant and desperation. Keisha's duct-taped sneakers squeaked against linoleum. When they reached Marcus's room, Victoria paused. He's sleeping. We can't wake him, but you can see. Keisha pressed her face to the window. Her breath fogged the glass. For a long moment, she just stared at the monitors, the IV, the bandages. Then her shoulders dropped, tension draining like water. He's gonna be okay, she whispered, more to herself than Victoria. Because of you. Keisha turned, and in her eyes, Victoria saw something that made her chest tighten. Not pride, not satisfaction. Hunger. The hunger of a child who'd spent her whole life invisible, suddenly seen. Ma'am, I gotta go. Grandma's probably home now, and if I'm not there, she'll worry. And Keisha, wait. Victoria pulled out her phone, then stopped. Money felt wrong, cheap. Give me your grandmother's number. The girl's face went carefully blank. Why? Because I want to thank her for raising someone brave enough to save my son's life. You don't gotta do that. I know, I want to. Keisha rattled off the digits. Victoria typed them in, then met the child's gaze. Go home. Be safe. I'll call tomorrow. You don't have to. I know, but I will. Something shifted in Keisha's expression. Not trust, not yet, but the smallest crack in her armor. The beginning of possibility. She left without another word. Victoria stood alone in the corridor, watching a 7-year-old disappear into the night, and realized with sudden terrifying clarity that this wasn't over. This was only beginning. Because outside, pressed against the hospital's glass doors, a man Victoria didn't recognize was photographing Keisha. And when the girl walked past him into the darkness, he followed. Victoria called the next morning at 9 a.m. sharp. A woman answered on the 5th ring, her voice sandpaper rough from exhaustion. Who's this? Mrs. Williams? My name is Victoria Chen. Your granddaughter Keisha saved my son's life yesterday, and I wanted to. Keisha did what? The exhaustion sharpened into alarm. What are you talking about? Where is she? She's not home? She's supposed to be at school. Lord Jesus, what is that girl? A man's voice erupted in the background. Give me that phone, Mama. Scuffling. Then, this is Deshaun Williams, Keisha's uncle, legal guardian. The words came out practiced, territorial. Now who the hell are you and why are you calling about my niece? Victoria's instincts, honed through 15 years of hostile negotiations, flared red. Mr. Williams, I'm simply trying to thank Keisha for... Thank her? Lady, I know who you are. Victoria Chen, tech billionaire. Saw you on the news this morning. Victoria's blood went cold. What news? Check Channel 7. You're famous. Again. His laugh was sharp. Funny thing about fame, it's expensive, especially when it involves children. My niece's therapy bills alone, the trauma of seeing your son nearly die. That's gonna cost. Are you threatening me? I'm protecting my family. Keisha's been through enough. Lost her mama to the streets 2 years ago. Lives in poverty while you fly helicopters. And now she's traumatized because your rich kid got jumped. Seems like you owe us. Victoria's jaw clenched. I'd like to speak with Keisha. No. Flat, final. And if you try to contact her again, I'll get a restraining order. Better yet, I'll call every news outlet and tell them you're harassing a vulnerable black child. See how that plays for your shareholders. The line went dead. Victoria immediately opened her news app. The headline made her stomach drop. Tech, billionaire's son, saved by homeless girl. Viral video sparks, questions about inequality. The video was everywhere. Security footage from a bodega across the street, grainy but clear enough. Keisha kneeling beside Marcus, Victoria running in designer heels. The helicopter. All of it set to dramatic music with captions screaming about two Americas. Her phone exploded with notifications. Investors, board members, PR teams in crisis mode. But Victoria only saw one thing, the comments section filling with speculation about Keisha, her address, her school, her family. She's in danger because of me. Victoria made 3 calls. First, her head of security. Second, her legal team. Third, a private investigator who owed her a favor. Find out everything about Deshaun Williams and find out if Keisha is safe. Because Victoria Chen hadn't clawed her way from poverty to power by ignoring her instincts. And every instinct was screaming that Deshaun Williams was hunting for a payday. The question was, what would he sacrifice to get it? The investigator's report arrived 48 hours later. Victoria read it in her home office while Marcus slept upstairs, still recovering. Deshaun Williams, 34, unemployed. Criminal record, assault, 2019. Drug possession, 2021. Fraud, 2023. Charges dropped. Lives with his mother, Keisha's grandmother. Recently started calling himself Keisha's legal guardian, though no custody papers exist. Victoria's hands tightened on the tablet. Keisha Williams, 7. Chronic absences from school. 3 CPS reports filed by teachers in the past year. All closed due to insufficient evidence. Mother, Deshaun's sister, died of overdose 2023. Grandmother works night shifts, rarely home. Multiple neighbors report seeing bruises. The words blurred. Victoria saw herself at 9 years old. Same bruises, same excuses, same system that looked away because looking was hard and doing something was harder. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Stop digging into my family. Deshaun's voice was ice. I know you hired someone. Back off or I'll file harassment charges. Did you hurt her? Victoria's voice was deadly quiet. That's defamation. I love my niece. But love costs money, Mrs. Chen, especially when rich people's problems become poor people's trauma. How much? $500,000, and you stay away from Keisha. Permanently. Victoria laughed, cold, sharp. You're extorting me. I'm seeking compensation for emotional damages. My lawyer says we have a strong case. The media would love this story. Billionaire exploits hero child, then abandons her. He paused. Or you pay, and everyone moves on. Let me speak to Keisha. No, you have 24 hours to decide. Click. Victoria sat in silence. Then she called her lawyer. File for emergency custody evaluation. I want social services at that house within the hour. Victoria, you can't just... Watch me. But the system moves slowly. Paperwork, protocols, privacy laws. By the time CPS arrived at the Williams home the next morning, Keisha was visiting relatives upstate. No one could say where. Grandmother was at work. Deshaun was gone. The caseworker left a card. Victoria stared at her phone, at the address her investigator had found, at the choice crystallizing before her. Play by rules designed to protect predators, or break every rule to save one child. She thought of Marcus, finally awake, asking repeatedly about the girl who stayed. She thought of Keisha's voice. Nobody should be scared alone. Victoria Chen had built an empire by knowing when to fight dirty. Get me everything, she told her investigator. Bank records, text messages, security footage, everything on Deshaun Williams, legal or not. That could destroy you if it goes public. Then I'll burn quietly. She stood, jaw set. But I'll burn taking him with me. Because some children are worth the world, and some men deserve to watch it collapse around them. Victoria found them 3 days later, not upstate, in a motel off I-95, 40 minutes from the Bronx. Deshaun had been sloppy, used his own credit card, posted a selfie from a gas station that her investigator geolocated within an hour. She arrived alone, no security, no lawyers, just a woman who'd once been a terrified child, now standing outside room 247 with her heart in her throat. She knocked. Deshaun opened the door, confident smirk already in place. "Come to pay?" "I came to see Keisha." "That's not how this—" Victoria pushed past him. The room was dim, smelling of mildew and old cigarettes. Keisha sat on the bed, still in the same clothes from 4 days ago, her eyes red-rimmed and hollow. When she saw Victoria, something broke. "You came," she whispered. Again, like she still couldn't believe it. "Always," Victoria said. Then to Deshaun, "We're leaving." He stepped between them and the door. "You're trespassing, kidnapping. I'll have you arrested." "No, you won't." Victoria held up her phone. On the screen, bank records showing Deshaun's deposits, $15,000 from a tabloid for exclusive Keisha access. Screenshots of texts offering to sell the girl's story. Video of him grabbing Keisha's arm outside the motel, hard enough to bruise. "I have enough to bury you," Victoria said quietly. "Extortion, child exploitation, assault. But I'm going to give you a choice." Deshaun's face went pale. "Walk away, now. Sign temporary guardianship to Keisha's grandmother, who actually loves her, and I don't press charges. You can't prove. I can prove everything. I have security footage from the motel showing you forcing her into the car. I have your text messages threatening to disappear with her unless I paid. And I have 6 lawyers ready to destroy you." She stepped closer. "Or, option 2, you fight me, and I use every resource I have to ensure you never see daylight outside a prison cell." The silence stretched like wire. "She's family," Deshaun said, but his voice wavered. "No, you're a predator who saw an opportunity." Victoria's voice was steel wrapped in ice. "Family doesn't sell children. Family doesn't leave bruises." Keisha's small voice cut through. "Please, Uncle Deshaun, I just want to go home." Something flickered in Deshaun's face. Shame, maybe, or rage at being caught. He looked at Keisha, then at Victoria, then at the phone full of evidence that would end him. "This isn't over," he muttered. "Yes," Victoria said, "it is." He left, slammed the door. Tires squealed in the parking lot. Victoria knelt in front of Keisha. "Did he hurt you?" "Just my arm. When I said I wanted to call Grandma." Tears spilled over. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just wanted to help your son, and now everything's—" "Stop." Victoria pulled her close. "You saved Marcus. You're a hero, and heroes deserve to be protected." Keisha sobbed into her shoulder. Great heaving cries that spoke of years of fear finally breaking loose. And Victoria Chen, who hadn't cried since her mother's funeral, felt tears slide down her own face because she'd found Keisha. But the real battle, keeping her safe, was just beginning. 6 months later, the courtroom was silent. Judge Morrison reviewed the documents, her reading glasses perched low on her nose. Victoria sat at the plaintiff's table, Marcus beside her, fully healed now, his hand clasped tight around Keisha's. On the other side, Keisha's grandmother, Ms. Williams, looking small but determined. Deshaun was notably absent, currently serving 18 months for extortion and child endangerment. "This is highly irregular," the judge said finally. "Mrs. Chen, you're requesting joint custody of a child who isn't biologically yours, who you've known for 6 months, while her legal guardian, her grandmother, maintains primary custody? Yes, Your Honor. Why? Victoria stood. She'd rehearsed this speech 100 times with lawyers. But now, looking at Keisha, this child who'd grown 3 inches, gained weight, smiled more, the rehearsed words vanished. Because she saved my son's life and taught me what matters. Because she deserves a future not limited by zip codes or bank accounts. Because her grandmother loves her, but works 80 hours a week to survive, and shouldn't have to choose between paying rent and being present. Victoria's voice steadied. And because family isn't just blood, it's showing up, it's staying when things get hard, it's believing a child deserves to be safe and seen and celebrated. The judge turned to Miss Williams. And you agree to this arrangement? The older woman nodded, tears streaming. I love my grandbaby, but I can't give her everything she needs alone. Mrs. Chen, she's not trying to replace me. She wants to help. Together we're stronger. Judge Morrison looked at Keisha. Young lady, do you want this? Keisha stood, small but steady. Yes, ma'am. Grandma tucks me in at night and makes the best cornbread, but Miss Victoria helps with homework and took me to see the ocean. They both love me. I don't gotta choose. The judge's expression softened. No, sweetheart, you don't. The gavel fell. Joint custody granted. The courtroom erupted in whispers, but Victoria only heard Keisha's squeal as both her grandmothers, Blood and Chosen, caught her in a hug. Marcus grinned, eyes bright. He'd changed too, these 6 months, softer, more aware. He'd started volunteering at the community center where Keisha used to spend afternoons alone. Mom, he said quietly, I'm proud of you. Victoria's throat closed. I'm proud of us. 3 years later, Victoria stood in the renovated South Bronx Community Center, funded by Chen Industries, managed by Ms. Williams, staffed by volunteers including a 19-year-old Marcus, home from Morehouse. The sign above the door read, Keisha's Place, where every child matters. Inside, 40 kids ate hot meals, got homework help, found safety. And in the corner, 10-year-old Keisha sat with a little boy whose mother worked nights, teaching him to read. You're important, Keisha told him softly. Even when it doesn't feel like it, you matter. Victoria watched from the doorway, heart full. She'd built an empire from nothing. But this was her greatest creation. A little girl had made one phone call and saved one life. Now they were saving each other. Every single day.